Howdy folks, and welcome to not the video I thought I was going to be doing today with Rear Admiral Jingles. Today you're getting a World of Warships video, and it's not even the World of Warships video that I thought I was going to be doing. What you're talking about, Jingles, allow me to explain. I thought that today's video was going to be a World of Tanks premium tank review. I went out and I got all the video footage and I was ready to go, and then I thought I'll just double check the date that I'm actually allowed to release this video, and oops. So, spoiler, tomorrow, not today, you're getting a World of Tanks premium tank review video. So then I thought, well, okay, what else is new? Oh, World of Warships patch 0.5.2 is out, and we've got the new ships in collaboration with Arpeggio with Blue Steel. Fantastic. I'll just go and take a look at them. No, they're not available until tomorrow either. Oh, fantastic. Well, what else can I do today? Well, patch 0.5.2 is out, and you can see some of the features of the patch right here. There are a couple of new ports available, and they're not all entirely cosmetic either. This one, for example, the Ocean port, is aimed squarely at people who are running World of Warships on, let's just say, machines that barely exceed the minimum specification. So there's nothing going on in the background there to slow the game down while you're browsing your ships in the port. Then, of course, we've got the Christmas and New Year port, which is New York Harbour. And there it is, Manhattan in the background and the Brooklyn Bridge. At least I hope it's the Brooklyn Bridge. Otherwise, all the New Yorkers watching this video are going to be completely outraged. There's the Manhattan skyline, Statue of Liberty in the background, and on the other side of the river, Brooklyn. Hooray! Actually, what are we doing with the Japanese battleship in New York Harbour? Let's find an American ship. Which one are we going to use? How about the Atlanta? Yeah, that'll do. That's nice and American. That's better. As well as New York, which is only going to be available over Christmas and the New Year, as far as I'm aware, there's also a Philippines port. Not entirely sure where it is in the Philippines. It doesn't look big enough to be Manila or Luzon or, any place like that. But anyway, it's somewhere in the Philippines. Again, as best as I can tell, appears to be a purely cosmetic addition to the game. The final new port is the one that's tied in with the collaboration that's going on between World of Warships and the anime show Arpeggio of Blue Steel, and this is the Yokosuka port. The new ships that are coming into the game in combination with this Arpeggio of Blue Steel collaboration, a bunch of Kongo-class battleships and a Miyoko-class cruiser, are going to be available tomorrow, the 24th of December, and that's when I'll be taking my first look at them. So that's coming up in a future World of Warships video. Now, what you're not going to get today is me spending half an hour talking about what's new in patch 0.5.2. There is just far too much going on in this patch. It is an absolutely huge patch. There's changes to the game mechanics, there's changes to the credit and experience coefficient for almost all of the ships in the game. I highly recommend you just go and take a look at the patch notes, or at the very least have a look at the video that Wargaming have done on this patch. What you're getting today, well, people have already started sending the replays in from patch 0.5.2. It's only been up for a couple of hours. And the very first one I looked at was absolutely epic, and that's what we're going to show you today. This is Comrade Pandas, and he is in the mighty Tirpitz premium Tier 8 German battleship. It's a Tier 8 match, and he's on the Two Brothers map. And just look at that matchmaking. Look at all of those destroyers on his team. You wouldn't want to be in a battleship on the enemy team, would you? I mean, you've got to be looking at that matchmaker and thinking, oh my god. In fact, somebody even says it in chat. Fubuki Death Squad. You're probably going to want to stay in open water. And not get too close to the corner of any islands. And you certainly don't want to be sailing down the middle channel on this map. Not with that many destroyers floating around. Comrade Pandas, of course, not in a destroyer. And he's going to spend the majority of this match almost completely alone. In fact, it's almost a carbon copy of a previous replay that we've seen with a lone battleship in almost exactly the same situation on this map, except with even more spectacular results. So the match begins, and Comrade Pandas takes his Tirpitz around the eastern side of the island, as he watches just about everybody else on his team sail around the western side of the islands. Almost everybody, except for that little fella over there in the Mutsuki, the Tier 6 Japanese destroyer. Captain Aubrey. Is that Jack Aubrey from the Master and Commander novels? I think it is. That guy, I really do have to give a shout out to this destroyer captain, because without him, Comrade Pandas would have just died. And he's not stupid either. He can read a map just as well as anybody else, and he's fully aware that the two of them are probably sailing into, at minimum, half the enemy fleet. And he even says there in chat, Tirpitz, get ready to run. Good advice. Comrade Pandas, of course, realises that somebody has to hold this flank. The Mutsuki can't do it alone. At best, he can slow them down. And so he stands by to dig in and sell his life dearly. And he's already coming under fire, and he's already taking damage. And just look at all of those enemy ships. Fired blind at his first target, and he disappeared. They all missed. Now, that enemy destroyer is not too far outside of torpedo range, so he switches to his torpedoes, but realises that there's far too much danger that he's actually going to hit Captain Aubrey over there in the friendly Mutsuki. And he's got his torpedoes away, and he's also engaging that enemy Mutsuki with his own guns. So he holds fire on his torpedoes in order to avoid sinking a teammate. Oh, that's another change in patch 0.5.2, by the way. Friendly torpedoes will only do 50% damage to allies. So that's not to encourage you to continue to fire your torpedoes without due regard for where they're going to go and whichever friendlies are in the way, but if you do make a mistake, or you're just careless, there's a reasonable chance you're not going to sink them. He's now launched his spotter aircraft to extend the range of his main battery guns and take some shots at extreme range, again looking for those torpedoes, but again, too much risk of hitting that Mutsuki. And there's the enemy carrier. It's at extreme range though, 25 kilometers. He's likely to miss. He thinks about it, and then he decides, nah, we're going to go for this New Orleans instead. Shots out. He's managed to avoid some return fire. And that Mutsuki's coming around again for another torpedo attack. And bang! Citadel hit. Look at the health on that New Orleans. And with the Mutsuki clear, he launches a salvo of torpedoes around the other side of the island just to discourage anybody from coming around. And there's the enemy Mutsuki. He's already inside the range of his secondary battery guns. His main batteries are loaded. This guy is clearly the biggest threat. He's within torpedo range, so you have to expect there to be torpedoes in the water. Lots of fire coming in from that massive enemy ships. Some of it accurate. Secondaries, again, lighten up this Mutsuki. Friendly Mutsuki, Captain Aubrey over there, has nearly killed this guy. He's doing a really, really good job with his guns. But you have to expect there to be torpedoes in the water. That guy came around the side of the island and was already in torpedo range. Even though Captain Pandas has armor piercing loaded, he's doing what he can to try to nail that Mutsuki, because that guy's the single biggest threat to Captain Aubrey in the friendly Mutsuki, and Captain Aubrey is the one that's really keeping all these enemy ships at bay, so he needs to keep them alive, and there are the torpedoes. And considering that Captain Pandas was actually manoeuvring when that Mutsuki launched these torpedoes, this is a very, very good spread. And he's almost gotten away with it, but one torpedo strikes him aft, and it missed the anti-torpedo armor bulge, so it did full damage. That was a big old hit. He burns his damage control ability to instantly control the flooding and bring his magazines online so he can reload his guns, and takes another shot at that very, very low health New Orleans that he scored a Citadel on earlier. And oh wow, look, somebody else on the team has actually turned up. It's a friendly Colorado, hurrah. Well, oh, and he hit the New Orleans. Wasn't enough to sink him, however, but he did at least manage to score a hit. And thankfully, they're now opening up on the Colorado instead of Captain Pandas. Never discount the value of teamwork. Gives the enemy something else to shoot at. Brought the ship around, fires at the New Orleans with his rear gun batteries. And I think he's missed. Oh well, never mind. And there you go, the Colorado is now the one taking the hits. But that enemy Mutsuki still isn't dead, and he's proven to be a real pain in the neck. This guy needs to die. It's not so much that he's a massive threat, not at that range anyway, to Captain Pandas. It's that he's the one who's going to get Captain Aubrey up there in the friendly Mutsuki killed, and not necessarily directly. But all of those enemy ships are fully aware of just how dangerous a Japanese destroyer can be, and they're all shooting at him as well. He's popped smoke, there are torpedoes in the water, he's going to be manoeuvring to avoid it. Friendly aircraft are coming in to try to lend whatever support they can over here. It's good to see that the friendly carrier player is fully aware of where the major threat to his safety exists on this map. It's on this flank. Enemy New Orleans poking around the side of the island there. Getting a high explosive salvo in, which hits the superstructure and does a not inconsiderable amount of damage. There's the enemy Tirpitz. And that Mutsuki is still not dead. Tirpitz coming around the side of the island. Fires with his forward gun batteries. Looks pretty good. Yeah, it does some damage. Fires with his rear gun batteries. And... well, he's knocked out one of the Turbitz's gun turrets. It's going to take him at least 20 seconds to get that gun firing again, if it's not been knocked out permanently. And he's starting to take fire from that New Orleans at the back again. He's going to get a couple of shots in. Tries for the citadels. This is going to be a perfect opportunity, providing they hit. Some damage again, and he's on fire. Damage control ability, off cooldown, burns it again to extinguish the flames. Not a great shot at that Tirpitz, and that's when, watch this, spots the low health New Orleans, fires at him with one turret, 2 shots, waits for the Tirpitz to turn, and then gives him the other turret. Watch the New Orleans in the background. Bingo! There's his first kill. And did a decent amount of damage to the Tirpitz as well. Enemy Mutsuki back in secondary gun range, which means of course that Comrade Pandas is also in torpedo range. He fires his torpedoes off. There are the enemy torpedoes. He slows it right down, easily manages to avoid them, launched his torpedoes against the enemy Tirpitz. It looks like he took a big hit from the Colorado there. That Mutsuki's about to get away. Not today, sunshine. There's his second kill. Now, what about those torpedoes? I don't know, they're looking pretty good. They are looking pretty good. There's one, there's two, bingo, nailed the enemy Tirpitz. And this New Orleans has just run out of friends, hasn't he? He's probably not feeling very brave anymore. In fact, you know, if he has any sense whatsoever, he's probably going to adopt the tried and tested proud naval tradition of taking Billy Big steps in the opposite direction and running the hell away. And that is in fact exactly what he does. Unfortunately, he's a little bit too close, and it looks like he's taken some big old hits from that Colorado who turned up in just the nick of time to spread the firepower of those enemy ships around. And I think he is actually shooting at the Colorado. Well, it makes sense. He knows he's probably going to die here. He's running away as fast as he can and bringing his guns to bear on whatever target is going to give him the most damage done, and therefore, oh dear, oh well, never mind. It was a citadel as well. Talk about overkill. Oh well, never mind. There's his fourth kill. Now, it's difficult to see how the enemy team are going to come back from this one. They're down 6 ships. Captain Pandas has sunk 4 of them as he sets his sight on this Nagato right at the extreme range of his guns. Blasts off a couple of shots with his 2 forward gun turrets. He's not going to turn around to get the rear turrets firing at the guy at this kind of range. And he's disappeared. And oh, we did actually score a hit, so hooray. He's more interested in closing the range. Oh, and there's an enemy Colorado up there as well. It's at this point where we get a bit of a replay bug, which makes it very, very difficult for us to tell exactly which ship he's shooting at. Shots out at the Nagato, or rather the Colorado. You'll see the sort of thing I'm talking about here. He's, according to the replay, he's got the Nagato targeted, and you're going to see when he's aiming here, it just looks kind of wrong. What the hell is he aiming at there? Now, according to the replay, he's got the Colorado targeted, but those shots are never going to hit him. Was he actually aiming at the Colorado? Well, we'll soon find out. Oh, and he spotted the enemy carrier as well. And you can see the shots are actually going and hitting the Nagato. So, yeah, replay bug. The replay system in World of Warships is far from perfect, but hey, at least it works. Now, they've spotted the enemy carrier, and here come some dive bombers, and this is really, really bizarre. What's these dive bombers? They do not go for the Mutsuki, and they've clearly spotted him. And they don't immediately go for Captain Pandas either, which is really, really weird. They are going to come back and bomb Captain Pandas, but because they're taking the long way around, he's getting the opportunity to shoot some of them down. Takes a hit there from the Colorado. His return fire is largely ineffectual. He's lost the turret. It's going to take 20 seconds to repair the turret. Colorado showing him the side, although he is turning. And there's the dive bombers on the way back. They actually lost 2 of the dive bombers. This has made no sense whatsoever. No idea what the enemy aircraft carrier captain was thinking he was doing there. He actually lost a third of his potential damage done just by messing around with his dive bombers rather than hitting him on the way in. Instead, he overflew him and then came back and lost 2 aircraft in the process. And he shot another one of them down. It's just 3 kills. Okay, anyway, he's got a Colorado and a Nagato in front of him, and some torpedoes launched from Captain Aubrey's Mutsuki have run out of steam and failed to hit anything. Scores a decent hit on the Colorado, But it's this Cleveland that's going to be the major pain in the ass, and he's just lost another gun turret, and it's going to take another 20 seconds to get that repaired. And it's the high explosive barrage from the Cleveland, because that's just what they do, the battleships. That's going to be the major problem here. Both his damage control and his damage repair abilities are on cooldown, and the damage is starting to mount up from this Cleveland. Scoring some hits on the Nagato, and it's decent damage, but it's absolutely nothing remarkable. That Cleveland really needs to die, so Captain Panda switches his fire at the Cleveland. Shots out. Yeah, that'll do. Well, I didn't see that one coming. Okay, he no longer has a Cleveland problem. There's his 5th kill. Now he targets the Nagato. He's not going for the Colorado because of the angle at which the Colorado is presenting towards him. His shots would just bounce off. At best, he might be able to do some damage to his superstructure, but that would be nothing critical. The Colorado turning in, look at all those friendly ships coming in. I mean, this game is definitely won. But the Colorado turning in to avoid the torpedoes from the Mutsuki appears to have forgotten that turbitzers have torpedoes as well. I mean, the Colorado's doomed no matter what happens here, but, well, he's probably hoping that his secondaries are going to finish Captain Pandas off, but not with those torpedoes in the water. They're not. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, and come on, get the guns to bear, get the guns to bear. You can totally penetrate his side armour quickly before those dive bombers finish you off. Come on, fire the bloody guns. Load, damn it, load. Yep, that'll do. Kill number 6 and the high caliber award. He's already got the Unleash the Kraken award, which is another new feature of patch 0.5.2 for 5 kills. Come on, let's get that Nagato. He's got no damage repair ability left. He's got the side of the Nagato, however. Shots out. They're both pummeling each other with, oh, come on, get the guns reloaded. Get the guns reloaded before his secondaries finish you off. Come on, do it. Boom! Headshot. Kill number 7. Can he make it 8? He totally can. But he wants to ram. He wants to ram the Independence. So, full steam to the engines. Ramming speed, bosun's mate. Aye, aye, Captain. And in he goes. And you know what? It's absolutely tragic. His secondary batteries, of course, you have no control over them. They're opening up whether he wants them to or not. And look at this barrage of fire that's coming in. Enemy fighters overhead, bah, free kills, extra XP, extra credits. Doesn't really matter. They're no real threat to him at all. And he's going for the ram. He's totally going to suicide on this Independence. He could easily have shot him with his main battery guns and taken the kill. Unfortunately, the rest of his team had other ideas. What an epic end that would have been. But still, you can't really complain about getting 7 kills. And it should have been 8. That last kill on the carrier was totally his. And if he hadn't held his fire in order to go for extra style points at the end by ramming him to death, that would have been an 8-kill match. Still, can't complain about 7 kills. Confederate, release the Kraken, 5-kill award. What is that? Dreadnought for basically getting battered to death and not dying. And the high caliber award for doing a metric arse ton of damage. But what, for me at least, is particularly nice to see about this match is because, well, it happens all too often when you're playing these kind of games. World of Tanks is no different, where you see the lemming train going around one side of the map and you think, well, somebody has to hold the other flank. And you go and basically get kicked to death in order for your team to win. You slow the enemy team down long enough that they can't cap while the lemming train does what it does on the other side of the map. And you get almost nothing out of it, but not this time. Comrade Pandas in the Tirpitz, Captain Aubrey in the Mutsuki, and Leatherneck in the Colorado, the only 3 players on their team that reacted to the threat on the eastern side of the map and potentially risked wasting their ships just to give their team time to get around the western end of the map and do what needed to be done, but instead turned the flank and basically won that match for their team. And all 3 of them are the top players on their team by experience earned. And I think that's fantastic. It does prove that sometimes, at least, there is justice in online gaming. How much damage did Captain Pandas do in that match? Remember, he got the high caliber award, so he must have done a lot. Let's have a look at the numbers. Yeah, that'll do. 138 shells fired with his main battery guns, 54 hits, doing 110,592 damage. No high explosive shells fired, and why should there be? With the exception of the enemy carrier that he didn't shoot once with his guns, because he was trying to ram him. And that Mutsuki, who he fired armor piercing at because that's what was loaded in his guns, he spent the entire game shooting at cruisers and other battleships, and that's what your armor piercing is for. 208 fire damage, inflicted by his secondary batteries, which did 4,032 damage by themselves, and 4 torpedo hits of the 12 that he fired for a total of 25,083 damage. So yeah, that's what, 130,000 in total? That's fairly respectable. Not bad at all. Thank you very much, Comrade Pandas, for sending that replay in. That amused me greatly, and I hope it amused you guys too. And that is it for today in World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles and Comrade Pandas, the scourge of the seven seas. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always folks, take care, and I'll catch you next time.